Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 394th meeting of the New York Comics and Picture-story Symposium. My name's Bill Cartolopoulos. It's been my privilege over the past year to work with Ben Catchor and Austin English organizing the New York Comics and Picture-story Symposium. The symposium itself is a speaker series that was started more than 10 years ago by Ben Catchor. The symposium began as a kind of offshoot of Occupy Wall Street. It was part of an attempt to create a kind of Occupy University, to take education outside of the walled enclosure of the academy and to make it free and available to the public, which was also certainly very much in keeping with the earlier ideals of the New School, where the series was first founded. It has since kind of evolved into a weekly speaker series that we run during the regular school year, and we invite various artists, scholars, historians, and other people to come and give talks on issues relating to comics, visual storytelling, and text image issues. And this this season of the symposium was supposed to have ended last week, but under the circumstances, we had an incredible opportunity to hear from Palestinian cartoonist Mohammad Sabaaneh. And I hope, Mohammed, I haven't pronounced that too poorly. If my name, by the way, is Bill Cartolopoulos, it's been pronounced poorly every day of my life, so I've learned not to take it personally, and I always hope others extend the same courtesy to me. But nevertheless, I became aware of Muhammad's work through this book, his second book in English, Power Born of Dreams. This was published in 2021 by Street Noise Books. In 2017, another publisher published a collection of his editorial cartoons. But this book is a really beautiful graphic memoir that I think we'll probably hear at least a little bit about today. And one of the things that I think is really striking about the book is that in some ways it's a memoir, in the sense that it's about Muhammad's experience as a political prisoner who was imprisoned by the Israeli government, but also really that story itself is kind of a framing narrative and becomes a vehicle for other Palestinian stories. So it's really less about the specific circumstances of Muhammad's arrest and why that happened and so on. And I think it's more about how his story is one of many Palestinian stories. And in some ways that reminds me of Art Spiegelman's Mouse, where the use of a kind of interchangeable face is a kind of constant reminder through the book that one character's story of oppression is one of literally millions of stories of oppression. There's a lot more we could say about that work. Nevertheless, and it's also, of course, just to by way of introduction, I suppose, it's interesting too that this series started with Occupy Wall Street, and now we're in a moment where I think in the West, students have taken to occupation as a tool to make their voices heard about the ongoing genocide in Gaza and the issues that Muhammad writes and draws about in his work. So without any further ado, what I'd like to do is first read a bio of Muhammad, and then I'll invite him to share a presentation with us. After that, we'll have maybe a little time for questions. I have a few that I prepared myself, but we do have the chat running. So if people would like to post questions in the chat while Muhammad is speaking, I can read those out afterwards if we have time. Okay, so let me read the bio that I have here. Mohammad Sabaaneh is a Palestinian cartoonist and a former political prisoner in Israel. His work has been published in the Middle East Monitor, as well as Al-Quds Al-Arabi, and he is the principal political cartoonist for the Palestinian Authority's daily newspaper, Al-Hayat al-Jadida. Mohammad is a Middle East representative for the Cartoonists Rights Network International and teaches art at the Arab American University of Palestine. His work has been included in international art fairs around the world. He's the author of the cartoon collection White and Black from Just World Books in 2017, and the graphic memoir Power Born of Dreams from Street Noise Books in 2021. He recently received a master's degree on scholarship from the University for the Creative Arts in London, and he currently lives in Ramallah in the West Bank. And before I turn it over to Mohammad, I also want to say quickly thanks as well to Street Noise Books publisher Liz Francis, who put me in touch with Mohammad and made today's event possible. So with that, I am very, very happy and honored myself to turn the floor over to Mohammad. So please, Mohammad, go ahead and you can share your screen and begin. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Bill, and thanks for being catcher for this great opportunity to share my experience with the people in New School or in New York or in the United States of America. And as always, I want to start with this Palestinian scholar, Palestinian American scholar, who has said that nations themselves are narrations. I think it's very important to start with him, since he's talking about our narration, the people narration, the nation's narration. And this scholar who has started his academic life in Columbia University, one of these universities in the United States, and in New York especially, who they are now protesting against the ongoing genocide in Gaza and in West Bank also, because I do believe that this genocide is not in Gaza, just in Gaza, and also in the West Bank, in my city, in Jenin, in the north cities in the West Bank, Tul Karim and Jenin and Nablus and all of these cities. Because most of the people, they do believe that this genocide is just in Gaza, the most harsh situation in Gaza, but we are facing also very bad situation in the West Bank and the rest of the Palestinian around the world. And now the pro-Palestinian around the world, they have facing the atrocity, the police atrocity, the government's atrocity, not just in the United States, and also in Germany, in France, and the rest of the Western countries. Actually, I want to thank New School University. I want to thank Mink Catcher, who has invited me in 2015. At that time, maybe Mink Catcher can remember when he asked this lady to translate for me. At that time, maybe that will shock you that I couldn't speak English at all. My English language was very bad, actually. At that time, he hired this young lady to translate from Arabic to English language. This lady had her Arabic language from Egypt. That's why she asked me to speak in Egyptian accent to translate my lecture into the English. And it's look like when you are asking some New Yorker or someone from New York to talk by London accent or by British accent or by, I don't know, to be translated into the Arabic language. That was one of the reasons why I have decided at that time that I need to go back to Palestine. When I go back to Palestine, I want to improve my English language. And that was one of my main steps to actually to publish my work around the world, not just here in Palestine. New York gave me this great chance to meet Seth Bookman. He's not just a great artist, actually. I learned a lot from him, and also he always supporting me as a Palestinian and supporting the Palestinian people. And I learned a lot from him. That's why also he is one of these things that I miss in New York. And my friend Ethan also, who they also introduced me to Mink Catcher in 2015. I learned a lot from them, and they supported me a lot. And recently I will publish some of my artwork with World War III magazine. And actually, my friends here from Palestine, they will publish their artwork in this very important magazine for the comics artist. Actually, I'm sorry that I couldn't come to United States. For more than 4 years now, I couldn't get the visa to get into United States. After Trump administration, they have decided not to give me a visa to come to United States. And when I applied for that visa, the American embassy in Jerusalem, they told me, you should bring your file from the Israeli government. Why you been in that prison, in the Israeli prison? At that time, I answered them, you can ask your friend in the Israeli army or Israeli intelligence to send my file in English for you, and you will know exactly why I've been in that prison. They told me, no, you should bring your file, translate it from Hebrew to English, and come to Jerusalem. And the bad thing that in order to go to United States, I have to get permission from the Israeli to go to the American embassy in Jerusalem. That's mean if I want to visit you in United States, or if I want to come to United States, I have to get Israeli approval. I don't know if we are the only country that we are occupied by Israel, actually. It's ironic that if I want to visit United States, I have to get that permission from the Israeli. I have ended my book in this comics in English. No, in English it was not, but in French, in Italy, and in the Arabic language, with this sentence that this story it's not over yet. At that time, I was thinking that, when I mention anything bad here in Palestine, traditionally we say we hope that this experience will not be again. You will not face the same bad experience. We have some traditional sentence that we say. But actually, I discovered that the meaning of this sentence is not just about me. It's about all of these people in my book. Nidal Louhedi, one of my friends I've illustrated his story. He's a very funny guy. He lives in Gaza, or he used to live in Gaza. Uh, he's a journalist. He's very, very great journalist. And he used to write some jokes about the Zannani. The Zannani, they call the drone, the military's drone, Zannani. Why? Because always they hear the voice of that drone. It's look like zzz. That's why he used to write some jokes about this drone, about it's became his alarm in the morning. It's always monitoring him when he want to meet his girlfriend. It's look like a game for these kids in Gaza. Always they are searching or looking for the to the sky to find Zannani in the sky. Nidal always used to refuse to leave Gaza. Always he was looking for a trip outside Gaza to make some activity, exhibition. He visited the United States, Europe, many countries, and then he decided to go back to Gaza. He has never decided to leave Gaza as many people who they used to live in Gaza. That was my last chat with him. After the 7th of October, I've been in France and decided to organize exhibition for him in France. And my friends in France, they have accepted to host him in Paris and organize exhibition for his photos. And that was he was just thanking me because I was thinking about him. Unfortunately, on the 7th of October, that's the Zannani, the drones that he used to write stats in his Facebook page, targeted him, and now he was missed in Gaza. No one know his fate now in Gaza. No one know if he was killed by the drone or he was missed on the 7th of October. His story was one of my story in this comics. That's why I do believe that this story or all of this story, it's not over yet. Unfortunately, it's not over yet. it's on the other hand, my main character, or I do believe that he is the main character, the bird, my main narrator in my comics. It's real. He is for me. He is a real character. It's not a fictional character. He came through the interrogation while I was inside the interrogation center in Israel. The interrogator or the Israeli soldier, or I don't know exactly what I should name him, he threatened me by saying that, do you believe that you are going to be in the prison with very romantic people, intellectual people inside the prison? Do you think these people the Palestinian people in our prisons, they are heroes? They are criminals. They killed the Israeli. They targeted Israel. They attacked Israel. And that's why they are in the prison. They do not feed the birds on the sky. And he mentioned that because the bird is a symbol of freedom, and that he would just want to tell me that it's not true that these people that are intellectual, they are intellectual, they are good people, they are resistance. No, they are criminal. That's from his perspective. And when I was moved from the interrogation center into the prison, I was in Al-Naqab prison. This prison in the desert of Al-Naqab, in the south of Palestine, historical land of Palestine, what they call it Israel now. And during that time, because it was spring, the small birds used to fall down in the court of the prison. And the Palestinian prisoners, they used to feed these birds and to teach them how they can fly. Can you imagine that these people who they have, like theoretically, they missed their freedom inside the Israeli prison. They used to teach these bears the symbol of freedom, how it can be free, how it can fly outside the prison. And it's look like games between the prisoners who they had birds who can teach his bird to fly first from the prison, to escape from that prison. During my journey with this comics, one of my friends in Gaza, his name is Maysar Barud. He's very great visual artist. He teach in Al-Aqsa University in Gaza. It was in 2019 during coronavirus. Maysara used to draw like these sketches using the bird as a symbol of freedom. And I was shocked by Maysara. I called him from London. I told him, Maysara, you are always drawing this bird as a symbol of freedom. What the hell of that? As a Palestinian in Gaza, you have been living under siege for more than 15 years. Corona, it's not a bad thing for you in Gaza. It is not something new. You are in a prison. You are already in that prison. He told me, I am afraid to go outside my home. I need just to leave my home. It's look like I need just to go outside that home. Maysara, during this war, on the second day of this war, he has lost his home. He has lost his studio. And when I started design my character, my bird, I used his bird from that series during the Corona to create my bird. But unfortunately, Maysara has lost his home during this war, and he was dispossessed from these shelters for more than 10 times from the northern Gaza. And now he, unfortunately, in Rafah. Just today, I tried to call him in Rafah, and I couldn't reach him because of the situation in Rafah. I don't know exactly if you are monitoring the news and know exactly what's going on now in Rafah. Last month, I've decided that I need to draw some of his sketches that he have done during this war to reflect the real situation in Gaza, to reflect his life during this atrocity and this genocide in Gaza. And I hope he will be safe, and I hope his life will be better. That's why I do believe that this story, it's not over yet. Another story. This guy, he is my friend, my oldest brother. His name is Thamer. I've depicted or illustrated his daughter story in this book. His daughter name was or is Majd. Majd was born while he was in the prison. His wife told him that he will have a baby, he will have a daughter while he was inside the prison. And always his wife tried to introduce him to his daughter by using his photos. One of his photo in his home, framed on the wall. His wife used to use his photo to tell her daughter that this is your father, this is your father. When he was released from the prison, his daughter Majd, she has refused him. She refused him as a father. And she considered that frame, that photo on that wall, her father, not the person, not the real person. Right now, Thamer in the prison, since or maybe before the 7th of October, he is in the prison. And when we say that he is in the prison without trial, without going to court, for more than 1 year now, Thamer again in the prison, without any trial, without any accusation, without having lawyer. And that's what they claim, that they are the only democracy in the Middle East. His son, his youngest son, Jude, just last week, he asked me to call his father. When he met me as his uncle, he told me, "My uncle, please, I want to talk with my father." He could not understand that his father now in the Israeli prison. He could not understand what the real meaning of being in the prison. My brother, the last news that we got from the prison 2 months ago, that he has lost 30 kilo from his weight just because of the torturing of the Palestinian prisoners since the 7th of October. All the international organization, all of this human organization, who they do care about the human rights, they cannot visit, and they could not visit the Palestinian prisoners inside the Israeli prison. More than 20 Palestinian prisoners died during this genocide. That's why I'm telling you that this genocide, it's not just in Gaza. It's in Gaza, it's in the West Bank, it's inside the Israeli prison. It's inside this prison, which controlled by this government, which claim that it is the only democracy in the Middle East, and which is funded by your government, unfortunately. That's why I do believe that all of this story, it's not over. Still, these characters, these people that I have done this story about them in that comics, they are still suffering. They are still facing this Israeli atrocity, the Israeli occupation, and facing this ongoing genocide that we are talking about it. That's why I do believe maybe we need another version from this book. After I visited United States in 2015, it's maybe that will shock you. It was the first time that I have heard about the comics. Here in Palestine, Liz, my publisher, she came to Palestine. Here in Palestine, we don't have book stores. We don't have comics. We don't have like this industry. Ethan and Seth introduced me to this kind of art. I used to hear about comics and to collect some of these books, but here in Palestine, we don't have all of these resources as a people under occupation. When I traveled back from the United States, I've decided that I need to start drawing my story. And one time I have my sketchbook. I was in Belgium at that time and traveling back from Belgium, and I had my sketchbook in my backpack. The Israeli soldier started searching my backpack, and then he found my sketchbook. He started just looking to my sketches. I was far away from him, and then he found this page. He was shocked. Many Israeli soldiers came to that table. looking at my sketchbook, I was very happy. Now I have audience from the Israeli army. I have fan. I didn't realize that they were looking for this page. And this page was like just a sketch. I will need to just to put some ideas about my life inside the prison to do this comics. And then he's not very important Israeli soldier. He came and he asked me to come to that table. And then he showed me this page. He asked me, why you are drawing us? Why you are trying to draw the Israeli soldier? And I was surrounded by the Israeli soldier, surrounded by all of these security intelligence, or I don't know exactly what they are doing, but most of them, they are Israeli soldier. I was surrounded by them. And that guy, he asked me, why you are drawing us like that? Draw beautiful women, landscapes, all of these things. Why you are drawing Israeli soldier? I looked around me. He was surrounded by the Israeli soldier like this last panel. And that's why I answered him, because it's looked like exactly what's happening now. You are surrounded me like this panel. That's why uh, that's sketches after I have done my first book. As you have mentioned, my first book just was a collection for my some political cartoon. This cartoon talking about the Palestinian life in the West Bank and in Gaza, talking about the war against Gaza. This one was about the war in 2014 in Gaza. This one to make this intersectionality between all of these issues around the world, the pollution, dictatorship, all of these issues around the world with the Palestinian issue. Some of these cartoons just to humanize even the oppressor, even the Israeli soldier. That means if he want to kill all of these people, all of these values, exactly he's killing himself. After that, I had this chance to meet, that gave me the first book, the chance to meet Seth, Ethan, Pinkatcher, Joe Sacco, and many comics artists. And that's also give me many like knowledge about the comics, but it wasn't enough actually. After I have finished my first book, I didn't earn a lot of money actually. It was for someone who is spending more than 3 years just doing that book. That's why I've decided after I have I improved my English language to go to the UK to get my master degree. And actually, during the master degree, I've decided I will not talk about Palestine. I want to spend 1 year in the UK, improving my knowledge about the comics, improving my skill, try to visit more museums, see more art, try to experiment another artwork like sculpture. This one I have done in the UK. Try to use another material actually, like intaglio print, this kind of material. This one I have done in the UK, and unfortunately we cannot do like this art here in Palestine because like this kind of art require some chemical material, and here in Palestine we cannot get it because maybe we will do some bomb against the Israeli or use it against the Israeli. That's why we cannot practice this kind of art. That's why I've used my time in the UK to experiment another material, the linoleum or the relief printing with the big sizes, because also here in Palestine we don't have workshop, we don't have the places that we can print this big scale of art. I tried to also to draw some mural or some art about different topics, like this big mural about the environment. It's not just about Palestine, but during my journey in the UK also, uh, as a Palestinian who has escaped from the prison, I faced coronavirus in the UK. Back to the prison, I found that my life, I back to the prison, I escaped from this prison in Palestine, the life inside the life inside the prison to the UK to have all of this experience. Then I faced another prison. In one of my lecture with Seth in School of Visual Art, most of his students, they have mentioned that they feel that they are in a prison. during coronavirus. It was also by Zoom at that time. Um, when they have mentioned that they feel that inside the prison, I back to our life as a Palestinian inside the prison. Actually, their life it wasn't inside look like a prison. The people life during coronavirus, it's absolutely not look like the Israeli prison. During coronavirus, we had the privilege of internet connection. We could order something while I was in the UK by Amazon, using all of this technology, go outside, spending my time doing my art or watching the television and do all of these things. That's why I back to the Palestinian issue. During also my journey in the master degree, I've visited an exhibition in the Illustration House in London for one of the British artists. His name is George Hem, and he was hired by the Israeli government in 1978 after the invasion of the West Bank and Gaza and Al-Jolan. And I've seen his artwork as an artist who has done or who was hired by the Israeli government to convey the Israeli propaganda, to stereotyping the Palestinian people. You can see this, the colored one, the Palestinian guy, he's looked like Bedouin without any culture, without any heritage. He's just Bedouin. And these Israeli kids, they are playing with this camel. And the left one, you can see the Jerusalem city, and this cloud, it's looked like raining car and factory and big building, like the modernity for the Jerusalem city. It's looked like stereotyping the Palestinian people. That took me back to the settler colonialism political framework. This artwork, I have done them in 2018. When I have done some research about the settler colonialism political framework, it's compared between the indigenous people in United States and the indigenous in Palestine, in Australia, and New Zealand, and all of these indigenous people. At that time, I was thinking about our life here in Palestine and what exactly we are facing as a Palestinian people. We are facing settler colonialism, and it's different than the occupation. Why it's different? Because these immigrants who they came from Europe, the Zionists who they came from Europe, they didn't came to Palestine just to occupy Palestine for a period of time, like the normal occupation. They did not occupy Palestine for resources, for the war, for a reason, and then they will travel back to their country. They came to Palestine to build their own country on the ruins of the Palestinian culture and the ruins of the Palestinian history and the ruins of the indigenous people here in Palestine. They did not accept, or they will not accept the Palestinian people as indigenous. And that's the same when you compare their speech in 1947, in 1946, during 1948, which we call it a Nakba, and their discourse now, the Israeli leader discourse during this war, the first thing they have said that we are fighting against human animal. They wanted to dehumanize the Palestinian people in order to kill them, to justify killing the indigenous people in Gaza and the indigenous people in the West Bank. And that's why exactly they converted all of our cities, not just Gaza, and also the West Bank. Each city in the West Bank, it's a big prison. Ramallah, it's a big prison. I traveled back from Italy on the 8th of October. From the 8th of October till now, I visited my family in Jenin just for fourth time. Just because if you want to go to Jenin, you have to cross through maybe 3 or 4 Israeli checkpoints. And in each checkpoint, maybe you will spend 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour. Maybe you will cross. Maybe they will prevent you. Maybe they will arrest you just because you are Palestinian. That's why they converted all of our cities, not just Gaza, into the big cities. And that's exactly, if we are compare between any traditional occupation with a settler colonialism regime, we will find it's a difference. It's not occupation. It's settler colonialism. What exactly they need to do? It's to expel all the Palestinian people, not just in Gaza, and also in the West Bank, from their land and their home, because they do believe that this land, all of this land, historical Palestinian land, and I will emphasize, historical Palestinian land, they want to convert it into the Israel land just for Jews people. And that's why they are claiming that this is just for Jews people. We have Jews people in Palestine. I have very great relation with the Jews people here in Palestine, and many Jews people, Palestinian Jews people in the Israeli prison. I want to mention that just to be clear, because they use anti-Semitic as accusation against all the Palestinian people, but no, some Jews, Palestinian people, they are in the Israeli prison. That's why they have stolen some of our historical area. This stone was stolen from area here in the West Bank called Sebastia. And that's why exactly the Israeli historian has said colonizer can eliminate people by whipping them from the historical narrative. They want to wiping us from the historical narrative. They want to take every Palestinian heritage, all the Palestinian heritage, all of the Palestinian history from the history to take or to build their own state on the ruins of the indigenous people here in Palestine. And you can see how they exactly stealing even the Palestinian folklore, the Palestinian culture, the Palestinian food. In New York, you can find, I think, hummus called sabra, and you believe that it is Israeli, but the hummus is from the Middle East, is in Syria, you can find hummus, in Jordan, and in Palestine. It's from the Middle East. They call it now Israeli, but it's not. They are stealing our traditional pattern, our scarf, our history, our food, everything in order to give reason that they are from that area, and they want to dehumanize the Palestinian people, that they are barbaric people without history, without heritage, without culture. And by that, they can justify the expulsion for the Palestinian people and the killing of these indigenous people here in this area. And that's why exactly I've been in the Israeli prison. That's why exactly I do believe my artworks were stolen in 2019 from inside the International Criminal Court. My cartoon, my artwork were stolen from inside the International Criminal Court, because they do not need the Palestinian people use the culture as a discourse to talk with the people around the world, because always they want to depict the Palestinian people as extremists, without culture, without art, without history, without education. And this is not true. It's the Palestinian people. We have cartoon before and after what they call the establishment for the big settlement, which called Israel. We have folklore, we have history, we have all of this, we have food, traditional food connected to this area. And that's why I do believe all of these accidents happen with me as a Palestinian artist. And you can see all of this news about what's happened with me. And also one of my artwork was confiscated in 2018 while I was traveling back from Europe. And that's why exactly just last year they called me, the Israeli intelligence, to threaten me if you draw anything about what's going on in Jerusalem. It's not just about my experience inside the prison. Not everything I can talk about it, because my life, it will be under threatened here in Palestine, and I'm not going to leave Palestine as as a refugee or to ask for asylum anyway, because my mission is to stay here and to fight by my art here and to convey my stories from this land. It's when I've started my journey about how I can rehumanize the Palestinian people by visual art. I thought that maybe I can do coloring book by using some photos from the Congress Library. You can find this photo from the Congress Library. It's for free. It's about the Palestinian culture before 1948, before what they call it, the establishment of the state of Israel. You can find the Palestinian people, the Palestinian culture, the Palestinian traditional people, the cultivation, the education, the cinema, all these photos from the Congress Library. And it's a free access. You can download it. I thought maybe I can do coloring book just to rehumanize the Palestinian people and to talk about their culture. But then I've decided why I had actually and here I want to thank Liz. Liz, the first person who offered to publish the comics for me. At that time, I was thinking I don't have enough knowledge about comics. But that time I was in the UK. I had great time and great access to many library resources. I've met many artists also in the UK during that year, and that actually improved my knowledge about the comics. And that's why also I did my research about the comics and how it was used. I do believe that all of you know all of this that for this kind of art more than me actually. And you are familiar with all of this kind of comics. During my master degree, I have to read all of these comics because it was like I'm hungry and find all of these resources for free. That's why I've spent all of my time just looking for this book. And I've done many research also about Mouse, about Art Spiegel and his art, about Joe Sacco also, comparing by academic research, not just by reading these comics, and also by reading reviews, articles, academic articles about all of these comics, because at that time I was in my master degree and I need to do academic research, not just doing doing my book. And then actually I've came with the idea, I will use that bird that I have met inside the prison as main narrator. And actually, I've decided I'm not going to use myself as a main hero because I wasn't hero. To be very honest with you, I'm not a hero. I look like any Palestinian. I'm just a cartoonist who like his art, who like what he exactly is doing. I do believe and I do love to experiment artwork, not just because I need to talk about Palestine, because I need to do art, because I love art. That's why I've decided I'm not the main hero or character in that comics. The bird is the main narrator. He is the hero. He is that guy I have met inside the prison during my life inside the Israeli prison, who used to travel outside that prison, bringing some stories from all of these cities, from Nidal Wahedi, from Maysara, from my brother in the prison, from many Palestinians in different places, because I want to like an evidence to compare the life inside the prison and outside the prison. You will find it's all the Palestinian people that are in prisons. And actually now the pro-Palestinian people in the United States, they are in the prisons. It's the same destiny for anyone who is supporting Palestine, who is standing with Palestine. He will face all this atrocity. It's not just about, what we are facing here in Palestine. It's something not easy. I know, but right now you are facing the same for American people who they do believe that they are live in free country. They can say their opinion. They can do whatever. No, you cannot. You cannot. You can criticize whatever you need. The Prophet Muhammad in Europe, they criticized him. Jesus, the God, whatever you need. the American president, anyone in the United States, anyone around the world, you can criticize him, but you cannot criticize one Israeli soldier. You will be accused as anti-Semitic. You will lose your job like Steve Bell during this war. You will be just you will lose everything just because you are criticizing Israel. And that's why I do believe there is nothing called freedom of speech around the world when it's related to Israel. When that topic will be Israel, you are surrounded by all this restriction. You can claim that you have freedom of speech, but you do not. You do not. No one have freedom of speech. I used to travel around the world. I used to meet many cartoonists around the world. Always they are saying, we are supporting you. We are supporting Palestine, the Palestinian cause. But at the same time, we cannot say anything in France or in Europe because we will be accused as anti-Semite. That's mean it is tool of censorship. And that's why I do believe that this is our mission as a Palestinian. My character, I used the same method of Joe Sacco when he depicted himself. It's according to the academic research. I want to make some like to compare between my experience or my comics and another experience. I try to remember, about that. Most of the people, when I say that, they was thinking, why you need to remember the life or the location inside the prison while you was inside the prison. When I was released from that prison, I've decided I do not need to talk about that prison. I was afraid to talk about the prison. I was afraid to remember my life inside the prison. And actually, when I've started doing this comics, it was very hard for me to remember my life inside the prison because I had the decision that I need to forget all of this detail inside the prison. That's why I looked for many documentary. It wasn't documentary, it was like just movies about the Palestinian prisoners in Palestine or in the Israeli prison. And most of these panels in my book, the proportion of that panels, it's looked like this area inside the prison. It's looked like the bed. Most of the Palestinian prisoners, that area inside your bed, like this kind of bed inside the prison, it's the only place that you have inside the prison. If you have some photos, some memories, some private thing, you can put it inside this area. This is the only thing that you have. This is your state inside the prison. If anyone come to that area, you will consider that as he's attacking your private area. I try to use this kind of technique to do some out of the panel, not just because I want to exaggerate the movement of this character or to do something like that, but while I was doing that book, I felt that all of these panels, small panels, it looked like cells, it looked like prisons. I need to go outside these cells to make character do something outside these panels, just because I need to convey this impression that I cannot stay inside these small areas or small cells like the Israeli prisons. I try also to make some connection with some international artists like MC Asher, some photos from the Palestinian news, or using some reference just to convey that what we are drawing, what we are illustrating in this book, it's not just exaggeration, it's something related to our daily life. The texture in that I have used for the linoleum, it's looked like how we like counting the days inside the prison. When you do zoom out for these small texture, you will find that it's looked like how the prisoners, they are counting their days. You can see that there is some banners, you can see them again and again and again. It's boring for someone who is reading this book. But this is our life inside the prison. It's the same every day, the same place, the same angle when you want to draw this page, the same place, the same time. That's why I've used this kind of technique just to convey that this is our life inside the prison. It is the same details, the same kind of life inside the prison. I use the carving or the kind of linoleum. I try to use the YouTube to show the people here in the Middle East when I do this kind of presentation. But I do believe that you are familiar with this kind of technique. And actually, the first one who has told me about this technique is Seth Bookman. At that time, he told me, "This is linoleum." Okay. I felt that I have heard something I don't know. What's this? What does this word mean? I don't know. And then he explained for me. I told him, what is linoleum? He told me that this is kind of material that you carved and then you print and you do everything. And he showed me some artists who they have done something like that. That's why when I traveled back to Palestine, I found that we don't have the carving tool. We don't have the linoleum. We don't have anything to do this kind of art. That's why when I started this kind of technique in the UK, I found everything. And then I brought all of these tools from the UK and from United States. And for the linoleum itself, I use some alternative here, like PVC or some plastic to draw this kind of artwork. About the narration or about the story, some people that they say that it is biographical comics or non-biographical comics. I don't know. It's not. It's really it's my life inside the prison. But at the same time, I've done some interviews or all of these stories for my friends or my relatives, my brothers, my family. It's not biographical, but it is look like journalism comics or documentation comics. I used all of this story. I make this bridge between my life and another life just to compare all these Palestinian life. If it's fictional or non-fictional, according to this fictional character, the bird, I don't know. I feel that he's real more than the occupation. And if you want to consider it fictional comics, you can. If you want to consider it as a real, it's this is not a problem for me. The most important thing for me just that I need to convey all these stories, all these facts from Palestine. That's why maybe I can call it hybrid comics story or narration. I don't know exactly what should or how we can label this kind of comics. I try to draw my life from the first moment in that prison, the first life in the first night inside the prison, because it was very hard. It's not easy on the first night that you are feeling that you are losing everything, you are losing your life, you cannot have a decision to have a cigarette or to open the window or to drink water inside that interrogation center. About all of this life, I sometimes I try to translate visually exactly what I was feeling inside the prison, not just the real thing or the real location. Try to translate my feeling or the another prisoner's feeling, how they do feel inside the prison or during their journey inside the prison. I try also to use some reference or some very famous photos just to compare between or to come to your mind as foreigner reader or people who they are reading this kind of book. Try also to do some things just to translate all of these things. Um, Try to decorate my paper, not just keep doing that like the traditional comics paper with these panels from right to left or from left to right as Arabic language. Sometimes I try to use another technique or another page design just to create something new. I try to talk about the military court inside the prison because some people say that you have court inside the prison, but or in Israel, but it's not real. It's something just like joke. That's why I try to draw some details about my life in the prison and another photos just or another illustration to describe the prison or to describe this military court. Another thing about how they moved the Palestinian prisoners from prison to prison, about another life in for the people in Jerusalem. Real story from one of my friends. He's writer Also, and it's real story about one of his student who was killed here in Ramallah by the Israeli soldier while he was going to school. And he was shocked that his mother, second day of that accident, came to the school just to see his disc. Her son was killed by the Israeli, but second day she was dreaming that he will go to school and she will find him on his disc. And it is a real story about the Palestinian refugees. One of my friends from Adheshi camp here in Beit Lahem, about my life during my bachelor degree in Nablus during the second Intifada, while I was use the art as a tool just to draw the Palestinian martyrs. Uh, Home demolishing was one of these stories that was very important. When you read all these stories, compare between our life as a Palestinian outside the prison, inside the prison, you will find that all the Palestinian people, they are prisoners. Without this physical prison, physical Israeli prison, we are prisoners. Okay, we are free. Always we are free. Even if we are inside the physical Israeli prison or outside that prison, we are free people, but we are inside that prison. The last story that I have included in that book about small kids from one of Ramallah village here around Ramallah called Deir Abu Mish'al. He was going to his school. Then suddenly, one of the Israeli military vehicle came to his village, closed that street. As a kid, he started just throw some stone toward that Israeli military car. That's why the Israeli army killed him. He was 14 years old without any reason, just because he was throwing stone toward that military vehicle. They killed him and they took his body. They have arrested his body. And that's why also the Palestinian people who they were killed by the Israeli, the Palestinian martyrs, the dead body, they are prisoners by the Israeli. And under the Israeli law, under this, the law by this country, which claim that it is the only democracy in the Middle East and the most moral army around the world. That's why, I don't know, that's okay. That's why I have ended my story with this story about Muhammad Matar, the Palestinian child who was killed by the Israeli just because he wanted to arrive to his school, and also they detained his body. During this war, I've decided that I need to do some sketches. That's how I ended my comics. I will go quickly here just because I want to show some of my new artwork about this war. I wanted just to translate some photos, some videos which came from Gaza, because I do believe that all of these resources one day will disappear from all of these social media. This girl, she has lost her both hand just because during this war, and that's how I illustrated her situation. Another kids, he was saying goodbye for his father who was killed by the Israeli. Another daddy or father, he went to the supermarket to buy some candy for his kids, and when he backed, he found that his child was killed by the Israeli by airstrike. In this video, actually, he was giving the candy for the dead body for his son. That's why I wanted to illustrate, to document this event, what's happened. Another story, another photo, another videos for all of these people who they are hungry in Gaza, suffering just because the Israeli, they are preventing all the humanitarian aids to get into Gaza. This father was holding his daughter body. It was raining in Gaza. It was flooding because of the rain. And this video from Al-Jazeera, he was just. That's why I wanted to illustrate all of this kind of scenes, events, and all of these things that's happened in Gaza. And That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you could, if you want to unshare your screen, I don't know if you have time maybe to answer a few questions, although it's a little hard to talk after seeing those images. I think there's a lot we could ask you. As I said, and those images were really striking. And I know that in addition to those images that you showed us and images of that kind, you've also been drawing, I think, daily editorial cartoons. Is that correct? On your Instagram, I see more like kind of, you know, like a more recognizable, say, political cartooning. Can you talk about that work that you're doing at the same time that you're making this personal art based on the things that you're seeing around you and in the media?
Actually, it's not easy to do all of this kind of, if we can call it activity, or to produce daily cartoon at the same time teaching at the university, doing all of these projects, art projects, but at the same time, this is the only thing that I can do for my people. This is the only thing that I can help my people and can convey their stories for the people around the world. That's why exactly this is my role. Some people, my brother, he has lost it more than 12 years inside the Israeli prison. Many friends of mine, 20 years, they have spent more than 20 years, for 30 years inside the Israeli prisons. That's why I know that it is hard to do all of these things. It's not easy, but at the same time, this is my role. This is the only thing that I can do. There's something you have mentioned that it's not easy. Maybe why I've done these images or this illustration about Gaza, because someone here, or many people here and around the world, they have said that we cannot see images from Gaza. We cannot see all of these videos, short videos from Gaza. I was thinking that we cannot, and these people, they could not see just or watch just 30 seconds from the life of this human being in Gaza. I cannot see or watch these videos 30, just 30 seconds from their whole life. That's why I've decided to watch all of these videos. It's not easy to see all of these photos and to illustrate or to translate them visually in order to document all of these things, in order, and not just not just because I do believe that I should create alternative for these resources, but because I do believe that we should document all of these things.
No, you're taking a lot of powerful responsibility upon yourself, and based on everything you've said, I understand why. Of course, as a human being, I hope you're also taking care of yourself too. But I maybe the reality doesn't offer you that luxury right now. You know, and one thing that was interesting too is. You know, you talked about your book as being a kind of hybrid work. And in a way, you know, my understanding is that in many countries in the Middle East, many Arab countries, as you said, there isn't a big tradition of comics, but there's a strong tradition of political cartooning. I was looking recently at the work of Naji Al-Ali. We have one book in English. I don't know if there's more in Arabic. But you know, I was noticing even this image here of the bird as a symbol for freedom. You know, you're not going to be able to see it very well here, but it's what I always, you know, just as far as comics go. I mean, I always think it's very valuable when people who don't have a background in comics make comics, because they don't do it in the obvious way. And I feel like with your book, among other things, you are able to use a lot of symbolic visual language that you develop as a cartoonist, as an editorial cartoonist, because you have to convey a lot of information in a single image. So you use symbols and metaphors. And we saw that in the slides that you showed, you know, the image of the crane enclosing the house and things like that. So in a way, when you were making your comic, did you feel that you were able to draw on the kind of like visual language that you had developed as an editorial cartoonist?
First, you have mentioned Najal Ali. As a Palestinian people, we have many Palestinian cartoonists after and before 1948. We have Adil Sharat, we have Ribh Zghir. Ribh Zghir, he was working here in Palestine after 1948 and before 1948, and then he traveled to Jordan and worked with Jordanian newspaper, and he died in Jordan. And he was, we can consider him the founder of the Palestinian political cartoon movement. And actually, also in Jordan, they considered him one of the most important cartoonists in Jordan. Originally, he's Palestinian from Hebron, and he was expelled from his home in 1948. And then Najil Ali, Baha al-Bukhari. Najil Ali, the most important thing about Najil Ali for the audience, that he was killed in London in 1987 by the Israeli Mossad, I guess, or maybe the Palestinian political party, because he used to criticize all of these parties. I want to just to mention that for the audience. About my visual language in that book, to be honest with you, I try to get rid of that, to use the text more as a comics more than because I know as a cartoonist I use the symbols, the one image to convey many messages. I wanted to get rid of that while I was doing my comics, but then I found that it's kind of language, because this is my style as a cartoonist. Why I don't use it in my comics, and maybe it's gonna be something with more value when we are talking about using the cartoon, or using my style, my experience in editorial cartoonist in the comics. I found it was very hard for me to do, like extract all of these stories, because usually I try to condense more ideas in one image, and now I want to do something in verse, like to extract more scenes, more details, to talk about dialogue and all of these things. It wasn't easy for me. But at the same time, I found these images, this symbolic image, it's helped me to convey more than one message, by the comics, by the panels, and by all of these things. I hope it wasn't hard for the audience to understand all of these banners and all of these splash pages. But maybe it's gonna be my style, or a good style to convey it, because also using the linoleum, it wasn't easy to produce comics. It wasn't easy for me, and it wasn't cheap actually. It was very expensive to do all of these pages. That's why sometimes I use this technique to talk about more than one idea.
Yeah. Well, as you say, I mean, the thing about symbols, it can be something that doesn't just tell one story, but is a representation of many stories. And I think one of the things that really comes through very strongly in your work is that sense of continuity, that as you said several times today, the Palestinian in the prison cell is a prisoner, but so is the Palestinian walking around in Gaza, who's also, controlled, as you said, in a variety of ways. And also, you showed that early image from your book, White and Black, where you're showing a connection between, the Palestinian struggle and other struggles, including the struggle for environmental justice. So I think there's that sense of continuity among Palestinians, and then kind of going out to other struggles around the world. And the other continuities, as you were saying, in terms of what we're seeing now in the United States and in Western Europe, the one story, I teach, and the story that you told about the students in your book that you referred to earlier was so heartbreaking to me. And also it was heartbreaking when students at the school where I teach, the new school, were arrested on Friday morning, you know, and Friday I was at the police station with a bunch of other people offering prison support, jail support, you know, to students from NYU and the new school that had been arrested the night before, you know, and there's certainly, you know, going back to that idea of settler colonialism and colonialism, I mean, there's a sentence, and I don't remember the source now, but a definition, I think, of fascism, that fascism is colonialism turned inward. You know, authoritarianism is colonialism turned inward. And anyway, and the other thing that comes through as well in some of your editorial cartooning, and I think even going back to the work of Naji al-Ali, is a strong sense of American complicity in the oppression of Palestinians. And certainly this is what a lot of students are protesting very directly, their universities' complicity through investment, and the greater US complicity in the Israeli military project. Could you, I don't know, I mean, that's a lot, but I don't know, is there an aspect of this kind of continuity that you, and I guess the other thing I would say is you seem to be speaking a lot to an international audience. And I guess, is there, you know, I guess maybe what do you wish maybe that the international audience understands that maybe Palestinians understand very well?
Actually, it's our mission as a comic. Here also, I want to mention something else about my mission as not just as a comics artist or political cartoonist. Last year, last year I gave the workshop about comics. I trained some young artists who they haven't done any comics before. And on the 15th of May last year, we organized the first Palestinian comics exhibition. Seth Bockman participated with us, Ethan and John-Luc Constantine from Italy also, with more than 20 Palestinian young artists who they have done comics. Some of them, they have done comics for the first time. And this summer, also, we are going to organize this exhibition in the Lakes District in the UK, and that will be the first Palestinian international participation in a comics festival in the UK. That's why I do believe, back to your question, I do believe that this kind of discourse using the art to talk with the international audience is something dismantle the Israeli propaganda, dismantle the Israeli discourse when they are when they describe the Palestinian people as human animals. They wanted to dehumanize the Palestinian people. That's why when we use the art as a tool of discourse, as a tool of speech, to convey our messages for all of these people internationally, that's just that thing will dismantle the Israeli propaganda. Back to my friend Maysar Baroud, the Palestinian artist from Gaza, and why I have organized exhibition for him here in Ramallah, and repainted his sketches that he has done during the war in that studio in Ramallah. Because by doing this kind of activity, I'm showing this human animal who they were described by the Israeli leader, how they are or how they have done great artwork during his atrocity against them. That's the only showing the people around the world that we have great artists, great people who they can do all of this intellectual product. Only that thing will dismantle the Israeli propaganda. That's why I'm doing this kind of not just my art, not just teaching art, and also another activity like organizing exhibition in the UK. Just during this war, I participated with many activity organizing exhibition in Jordan, in Turkey, in also in the UK. Another activity also in the United States from some student in California. They asked me to send some poster or some artwork for them to be used in Lyon in France. my mission, it's not just producing the art. My mission is also to help the young artists to reach this knowledge that I got from my opportunity. When I travel around the world, I had great opportunity to get into more resources, library, bookstores, to have connection with publisher, for example. Liz now, she's going, I hope so, but I'm not monitoring her email. Now she is planning to publish a comics for three Palestinian artists from Gaza. They traveled outside Gaza. I introduced them to Liz, and now Liz, I thank her also because she is willing to publish comics for them. These three young artists from Gaza, they have done or they have participated last year with us in that exhibition. That's why I don't have any time actually, not just luxury of time to. But maybe the good thing here in Palestine, we have nothing to do. You cannot go outside Ramallah. If you want to go outside Ramallah, you will spend 3 or 4 hours just to visit your parents. That's why you prefer to stay inside these small cities, small prisons. That's why we have time to produce all of this kind or to achieve all of this kind of achievements. Unfortunately, we don't have anything else to do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and thank you too for sharing at the beginning of your time your perspective as someone in the West Bank, because as you said, I think that's something, that's something that I don't think I've even heard anyone say I mean, we've definitely heard some kind of fragmentary reports that there's increased oppression in the West Bank, there's more people getting arrested, there's settler activity, etc. But I mean, to hear you say that really it's a genocide that extends into the West Bank is also is
Here,
a
I
powerful
want to just
perspective.
to mention something. I think it is important.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I just want to mention something. I think it's very important. According to the Israeli, or he used to be Israeli, Ilan Pape, and what he has said that the Israeli willing to occupy all the West Bank because they do believe that all of their history, or maybe I don't know, fake history, in the West Bank, not just in 1948, not just it's not in Gaza. And that's why they have many settlements in the West Bank. That's why we cannot travel between all of these cities. My students, they have faced many Israeli checkpoints. Every day they face Israeli checkpoint just to get into the university. And also next week, I'm traveling to Kosovo for the first time. I'm going outside Palestine since the 7th of October. I hope that I can travel outside Palestine because I have to cross through the Israeli checkpoint. But here I want to just to tell you a short story. Just maybe 6 or 7 years ago, one professor scholars, he came to my university to teach two courses, one in my campus in Ramallah, another in another campus, the main campus in Jenin, another city. At that time, we were crossing through Israeli checkpoints. And at that checkpoint, there is a route for the Palestinian people and another route for the settler, the Israeli settler in the West Bank. The route for the Palestinian people is full with people. They are just waiting the permission from the Israeli to cross through between the Palestinian cities. The routes for the settler, they came easily without anyone asking them. That American professor, he asked me, what is that? Why we are waiting? We can cross from here. I told him, no, this routes, it is just for Israeli settler. We cannot go there because the number of the car, it's for the Palestinian is white, for the Israeli is yellow. He told me that this is discrimination. I told him, yes, I know that this is discrimination, but this is our life. He was shocked. He was shocked that this is our normal life in the West Bank. Even if you want to visit your parents or to visit your friends, sometimes you look like you are traveling between two cities.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's see. There someone had posted. Well, you had talked a little bit about this already. Seth had posted a question in the chat,
Yeah.
wondering if you could talk about your your work with young artists and educating artists, but I mean, you've talked about that a little bit, but you teach regularly in a university.
Yeah, I teach in Arab American. It's called Arab American University. We have no any relation with United States. This university, it's a private university for Palestinian businessmen, but they call it American University. It's look like brand, American car, American food, American weapon, American army, American movie. People in the Middle East, they like American thing. Like the Israeli, like the American weapons. That's why I think they call it the Arab American universities. But I teach in that university, but it's not just about teaching in that university. Also, I gave some workshop. Now we are organizing for another exhibition here in the West Bank with a new young artist, comics artist, and we need to support another young artist from to I can't call it teach them, maybe educate them or give them some knowledge about the comics by some workshop. Some of my writer friends, they are writer also. They wrote some narration for them. We do this kind of collective things between us as scholars or as a people who they have this kind of experience with young artists to give them the kind of knowledge about this kind of art and to give and to try to find actually opportunity for them to publish, to participate in this international exhibition and international festival, because by that we can create Palestinian comics movement or this kind of art here in Palestine.
I guess probably I think maybe a good final question might be what I mean, we're here in the West listening to you. We're in the imperial core, as it's been described. What do you think is the most effective thing that people in the West who want to help in some way change that situation? What do you perceive from your perspective is the most helpful thing that someone in the West can do?
Actually, you know what's going on now in all of these American universities is something amazing and very important for us. And even the Palestinian people right now, they are very thankful for the American people and the American student. They are very happy. You cannot imagine how much these people, even in Gaza, even in these camps in Gaza, they send some messages, videos. For this movement in all of these universities, because it is very important. The next generation will come from this university. This next generation will understand exactly what's going on here, will try to use all of these tools that we are trying to find for them, this book, this comics. I think next year we will have more than one Palestinian artist who they have done comics, not just Mohammad Sabaaneh. We will have another with Liz, with another publishers. We will have many resources. We will find or create many resources for the next generation to be used by this generation. For me, I'm very thankful for them. I really believe that what they have done and what they are doing now is something very important for us as a Palestinian, and that will exactly will change the accusation between us and the United States. We have stereotype also as a Palestinian or as Arab about United States. The people who do not or they did not visit United States, they do believe that all of these people in the United States, they are Trump, 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 Trump. They are not. I really know that these people in the United States, they are not Trumps. They are different people. People, they do believe in freedom, believe in justice, believe in human rights. And like my government, they do not represent the Palestinian people, Mahmoud Abbas. I do believe that your administration also, they have this privilege with Israel, with all of these countries. And that's why exactly it's very important for the American people and for the Palestinian people, what's happened from these young people from all of these universities. I'm really thankful. I really thank them. I think also whatever they need, whatever they asked me from all these states in United States or in European university, I send them my cartoon, my artwork, my design, whatever they need to be used, because this is, I do believe in this generation.
Well, that's very, very touching to hear. And I'm also very impressed by the students myself as a faculty member. Well, I can't thank you enough, first of all, for your work. I think everyone who's interested in this issue should read your book, because it creates really, if anything, or I think it really successfully doesn't just tell a little bit of your story, but creates a sense of context for understanding what the Palestinian experience has been for a long time, even before the latest intensification. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for the work you're still making, for showing us the beautiful, even if it's extremely sad, work you're making now. I do ask you to please take care of yourself. And thank you to all the people who came here today to hear Mohammad, and thanks again to Liz Francis from Street Noise for arranging things today, for Ben Catchor and Austin English who helped me organize the symposium. And once again, thank you, Mohammad, for sharing your time. We really, really do appreciate it. And I hope next time you address the symposium, you'll be back in New York with us.
I hope so. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Stay safe and be well.
Thank you.